Hey guys, Carol97 again. This time a review of the 1/44 scale high-grade Iron-Blooded Orphans Julieta's Mobile Reginlaze from the Iron-Blooded Orphans series. So for the color scheme, we get a very nice green on white color scheme, kind of reminiscent of that of the Grace Custom. The only problem is that the green seems to be slightly too dark. It's more of a forest green while it should have been more of a moss green. Other than that, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Then we also have gray for, well, most of the inner frame of the Reginlaze, and finally also some darker gray for the bottom of the feet. And for stickers, as always, we don't really get a lot of them. We get a few yellow ones. One goes right there on the back, and two, one each on every vent, one for the sensor there. The first real issue we run into seems to be trying to reveal the eye sticker inside. Now what the manual tells you to do is remove the top, then pull this down, which you can actually pretty much do just like that with nail and keeping that thing on there, and then reattaching it. Now you're kind of revealing that sticker in there, but when we look at a picture in the manual, it seems like it's supposed to open up a lot more than we have on the model kit right now. The only problem is it just does not have enough friction in order to keep it opened up. I mean, it just falls completely down, and there's no real way you can attach it anywhere else. So that's kind of unfortunate. You can, apply the super glue trick right there to give it more friction, but straight out of the box, that eye gimmick is going to be a little bit unfortunate. But hey, let's quickly forget about that eye sticker and go on to the articulation. The head, it's a little bit funny, has a double joint, and then it really makes these side things, which are very reminiscent of the Leo, look kind of odd, because it looks like this head would just be stuck on there and suddenly the entire thing starts moving, rotates around all the way, backwards and forwards. The arms are on ball joints, will rotate around all the way, wiggle around, a little bit forwards, backwards, up nicely like that, and we have an extra hinge in there to make them go up really nicely. Then even more so like that, rotate around below the shoulder. Then the elbow, only a single joint, but a pretty respectable one at that. Then when we get to the hands, things get a little bit weird, because they're not really on ball joints. It's like half of the arm is on a ball joint, and the problem is the way it's in there, you're not really getting a whole lot out of that ball joint without the risk of dislocating half of the arm. Then the hand itself is on a very weird rotation joint, and this seems much more useful than it actually is, because you think, oh, you're going to be able to pull off a lot of crazy moves, like if you have a knight mobile suit, if you had a sword, you'd be able to, pull off some really cool poses. The problem is, once something goes through there, the articulation is pretty much limited to angling forwards about that far, which is what a regular ball joint would also be able to accomplish. So, I'm not sure how I feel about this setup. Then the waist is the usual Iron-Blooded Orphan stuff, really nice forwards, really nicely backwards, rotates around all the way like that. And when we get to the backpack, we get some really cool thrusters. They will rotate around, be there at a joint right there and a joint up there, so you can put them in a nice variety of poses. Then the thruster at the bottom is on a hinge, and even the little thruster at the top there is also on a hinge. So this thruster is really going to carry you wherever you want to go. Back skirts, not really moving anything. And the legs will go forwards really far, backwards. Despite the back skirts, still very respectable. And these things, it's a good time to point out that these are on ball joints, unlike the ones at the top, which are pegged in there. But, you know, they can still rotate around. Then the legs themselves will rotate around all the way. The knees are double jointed. There we go. Get some cool separation with the wide bit. And then and they're back on there. Now they kind of like to pop off when you're posing it around, and especially when you're trying to show off the extremes it can do. Just with regular posing, they're not that bad. And go outwards all the way around. As you can see, they just stay on perfectly fine. It's really when you start rotating around the legs and you start hitting them that you have an increased risk of knocking them off. And this little piece right there is on a ball joint. And then finally the feet, just as the hands slash wrists slash lower arms are pretty interestingly articulated. They are on a double peg at the top and at the bottom, so we get a double rotary joint, which does allow for some pretty crazy posings if you'd want to do this. And then there's a hinge inside, so you get forwards a bit and then backwards a bit, so you get extreme sideways movement, but only forwards and backwards. Then there's also this panel right here, which you can fold up if you'd want to, but I highly recommend you to leave it down unless you have it on an action base, for which the adapter is in his butt. So overall, the articulation feels like they were trying to do something different, for better or for worse. As far as Iron-Blooded Orphan is concerned, the articulation still seems to fit right in with the rest of them. Now let's have a look at what this thing packs with accessories. First of all, we of course get a standard issue rifle, but the cool thing about this is you can actually remove the barrel and choose whether you want a more, you know, big pistol-esque thing or more of a rifle. The only unfortunate part about this rifle is that because it's designed to be removable, there is slightly too much give, and also there is a noticeable gap in between the two parts, even if you don't have it on there. So a bit of glue there is advised, and you simply put this thing in the hands just like that. We have this piece to then cover it up, and unlike with the grazes, there's no point that really hardwires it to the arm, so it just goes in like that. But that's not where the fun ends with this gun. Then the next accessory that we're getting are these Julieta's mobile suit specific twin pile, or at least that's what the manual calls them. I'm going to call them tonfas. But wait, we still have our rifle on our Reginlaze. Whatever are we going to do with that? Well, the answer, once you've removed these things, which I'm going to assume are ammo packs, is store them pretty much anywhere. Because the cool thing is that this peg is the same as that peg. And that peg will go here, 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 there, 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 and there. And in each one of those, you can store either the gun or one of the ammo packs, which really made me wish for a bunch of these ammo packs or a second gun, because as you can see, you can really store them wherever you want on the side there. And wouldn't it have been amazing to have this thing filled out with ammo packs ready to go to war? But fortunately, we're just going to have to deal with that right there in its tall geese configuration, as I'm going to call it right now, and go on with these tonfas. And these accessories are what I thought were going to explain the odd design of the hands. Unfortunately, I'm not really seeing anything too spectacular. It can go like that, it can go like that. I mean, you can get a little bit extra with that kind of, if you try not to make it pop off. But really, overall, it feels like something a regular old ball joint could have accomplished just as well, if not better, because moving it side to side makes it look more like the Reginlaze just broke its arm rather than moved its hand out of the way. So, yeah, kind of unfortunate there for the tonfas with the hands. But let's get on with more cool thing the tonfas can do, because these shoot out claws. And for the claw, we also get one of these. And unlike a lot of other, wire things that shoot out, this one is exactly the right length. And this thing is exactly small enough. So once you have it fit in there we go. This is actually going to stay in the position you'd want it to stay in. Mainly thanks to the fact that this is such a small thing. But it works, and that is all that's important. Would have been really cool if we'd gotten 2 wires, because, well, it's not that long a wire, so it would have been cool if we'd gotten either one long one that we could cut in half, or 2 shorter ones, because on the other side, it works just as well. The only unfortunate thing about the tonfas is that you can't really store them anywhere, and I really thought that these 2 things were going to store somewhere, just because the rifle is so storable. I mean, the rifle stores everywhere. These things, or at least the manual doesn't tell you they store anywhere, because we do get this little part. And there we go, stored. The thing is, these claws just happen to be an exact fit for the pipes that go out, for the peg that goes out from that little piece. Just an absolute perfect coincidental fit. Then the final accessory, well, as far as weapons concerned, that we're getting is a pair of these quote-unquote gauntlets, as the manual calls them. The one thing I was really wondering is, what is going to fit into these slots? The answer is absolutely nothing. I was kind of hoping that the tonfas would connect there, but nope, nothing seems to go in there. So we just put them on the arms like that. And now the Reginlaze is ready for its boxing match. Then the final accessory that we're getting is also the regular head, which is actually what you're supposed to use for Julieta's mobile Reginlaze, but I kind of like my, well, quote-unquote, grunt types mobile suits with their commander antennas. The good news is, we do get the commander antenna with Julieta's Reginlaze. So, in the very unlikely case that Eok's Reginlaze would happen to be a P Bandai, you can't just buy this thing and paint it. You know it's going to happen. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Well, for 1,200 yen, this just seems to be your average Iron-Blooded Orphan series model kit. In a good way. 1,200 yen is a great price. You're getting a model kit with nice, albeit a bit experimental articulation. It looks great. Great proportions. Really nice accessories. Slightly more than your average Iron-Blooded Orphans model kit. So overall, if you're a fan of Julieta or the Reginlaze, this is definitely worth picking up. Or if you're a fan of Eok and you want to beat the P Bandai to making it, you could also pick this up and paint it, but you didn't hear that from me. So moving on. Yeah, overall, go for it. If you like him, go get it. Absolutely, totally worth it. Now, compared to the other Iron-Blooded Orphan series model kits, I do feel like the Reginlaze has slightly more annoyances, like the head just being a bit off, the rifle that's just unfortunate, these ball joints that maybe pop off a little bit too soon, a little bit too finicky. Once again, not a huge deal, but it's like all these little things that kind of add up. Like the articulation that's sometimes a bit experimental, so when in doubt and you're thinking maybe I should get that other model kit from the Iron-Blooded Orphan series, maybe you should go ahead and get that one. But overall, Julieta's Mobile Reginlaze is a solid model kit from Iron-Blooded Orphans. Then for size comparisons, first of all, here it is next to the Barbatos and the Grace Custom. And you can really see the influence of the Grace and the influence of the Grace Custom's color scheme on the Reginlaze. Also, the Reginlaze does feel more bulky than the regular Grays. Then here it is next to the Schwalbe Grace and the Ryusei Go. And when I was talking about other model kits that might be a better deal, these two were kind of the ones that came to my mind. Especially the Ryusei Go. Also, that glorious, glorious color scheme. And finally, here it is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And I just want to take a moment here to remind everyone that just because these weapon sets are for Iron-Blooded Orphans model kits, it does not mean that they cannot be used by other model kits. And well, that's all for this review, and see you guys next time!